Introduction. You were summoned, not suggested. You didn't click this by chance. You didn't arrive because of curiosity. You didn't scroll here out of boredom. You were summoned. There are moments when life shifts, not by thunder or signs in the sky, but by a silent signal that pulses beneath your awareness. A flicker, a whisper, a sacred code reactivating. If you're hearing these words now, it means that signal has reached you. Something ancient is stirring in the field around you, and within you. The world has taught you to look for knowledge in books, in gurus, in formulas. But the truth you seek was never outside, it was only waiting. Buried beneath layers of belief, echoing beneath the noise of thought, is a memory. Not a memory of events, but a memory of energy. A remembrance of who you were before you were taught to forget. The voice you hear now is not here to convince you. It is not here to educate or entertain. It is here to activate. Because deep, in the silence of forgotten temples, in the lost scrolls that never made it into history's spotlight, Thoth, the keeper of divine codes, left something for you. A message encoded not in words, but in frequency. Not in doctrine, but in vibration. Not to be memorized, but to be felt. This isn't content, this is a mirror. A mirror that doesn't reflect your face, but your frequency. And that frequency is about to shift. You may already feel it. The unease that doesn't make sense. The desire that can't be named. The repetition of old patterns that should have ended by now. That is not confusion. It is the unraveling of your old signal. It is your vibrational field dissolving the illusions that no longer serve. You are not here to learn. You are here to remember. And remembrance doesn't happen with information. It happens with resonance. So pause, breathe, and prepare yourself not to listen, but to receive. What follows will not just be spoken, it will be transferred. If you allow it, every sentence will speak not to your intellect, but to your field. And your field will answer. The codes you are about to hear were hidden, not because they were dangerous, but because they were powerful. And those in power feared what would happen if you remembered. But you found them now. Or rather, they found you. The first alignment right now. Pause and gently close your eyes. Place your right hand over your heart. Feel it, not as an organ, but as a tuning fork. Say softly, not out loud, but into your field, I am ready to remember. Feel the vibration of those words, not in your mind, but in your chest. That signal is your key. It has been waiting for you all this time. Lesson 1. The field is not passive. It is the architect. What if the world around you wasn't reacting to your thoughts, but to something deeper? What if your mind was never the true creator, just the interpreter? What if the secret you've been missing was not in what you think, but in what you emit? You have been taught that thoughts create reality, that intentions mold the future, that with enough focus, enough clarity, enough repetition, the universe will respond. But this is only a shadow of the truth. There is something far more ancient, far more powerful, shaping the world you wake up to each day. It is not your affirmations. It is not your visualizations. It is the field. You are surrounded, wrapped in a vibrational mesh so subtle that you forget it exists, and so powerful that nothing in your life escapes its influence. This field is not a metaphor. It is the actual architecture of reality. Thoth called it the first mirror. Not because it reflects your appearance, but because it reflects your essence. Your field is the unseen canvas where every relationship, every emotion, every repetition of circumstance is painted. And here is the truth you were never taught. The field comes first. Not your thoughts, not your beliefs, not your rituals. The field, and the field remembers. It holds the emotional fingerprints of every wound you've ever silenced. It holds the echoes of every inherited fear, every ancestral belief passed to you without words. It holds the frequencies of old versions of you, the ones you outgrew, the ones that still whisper from your subconscious when no one else is listening. The field is alive, and it is ancient. And while you sleep, while you speak, while you try to manifest a different life, your field is broadcasting. Broadcasting a silent code that the universe responds to instantly. You may wonder, if I've done the work, why haven't things changed? Why do I keep repeating the same dynamics, the same emotions, the same setbacks? Why do I feel like something invisible is always pulling me back? Because you are sending out a signal. And the signal is older than your desire. You are asking for freedom while vibrating with fear. You are reaching for love while your field still echoes abandonment. You are visualizing wealth while your signal says, I must survive. This is not your fault. It is your inheritance, vibrational. Patterns stored in the field, not the mind. You see, thought is surface. The field is source. Thoughts can lie. Fields never do. A person can say, I'm happy while their field broadcasts grief. They can affirm, I am abundant, while their field holds the memory of scarcity from 3 generations back. And the universe listens, not to the words, not to the smile, but to the frequency. This is why you can do everything right and still feel like nothing moves. Because intention is not the architect. The field is. And here lies the first forbidden truth. Reality doesn't respond to what you say. It responds to what you sustain. It doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you are. You may have noticed that you attract the same kinds of people. That similar emotions surface in different situations. That certain triggers repeat, even when the faces change. These are not random. They are echoes. They are vibrational signatures that the field keeps replaying until they are resolved. And the field is not cruel. It doesn't repeat to punish. It repeats to awaken, because until the distortion is seen, it remains. Until the scar is acknowledged, it vibrates. Until the signal is decoded, it broadcasts a frequency that cancels every intention. You send out. This is why the ancients never spoke of manifestation, the way modern minds do. They didn't ask the universe to give. They purified the field. To align. They knew, if the tone is clear, the song plays. If the water is still, the stars reflect. If the field is coherent, life cannot help but mirror it. So today, you must begin not with wishing, not with asking, but with noticing what your life is telling you, because your life is not a puzzle. It is a projection. It is a hologram of your hidden vibrations. Your life is not against you. It is showing you your tone. Are your relationships cold, distant, repetitive? The field may still carry unprocessed grief. Are you stuck in financial struggle despite your efforts? The field may hold inherited scarcity that never belonged to you. You don't need to be blamed. You need to be decoded. This is not a punishment. It's a map. Because once you recognize the signal, you begin to regain authorship of your field. You don't fix the world, you tune your frequency. And when the tuning shifts, everything follows. This is the forgotten foundation of Thoth's wisdom. Not manifestation through force, but through field coherence. Not transformation through thought, but through vibration. Not asking, but becoming. And so let this first lesson embed itself not in your memory, but in your signal. You are not creating reality with your effort. You are projecting it with your field. And if you want to change the outer world, you must first listen to the music playing beneath your skin. Decode the pattern. Take 10 minutes. Sit somewhere quiet. Breathe deeply and slowly. As you exhale, repeat silently, I am listening to my field. Now reflect. Ask yourself, what patterns do I keep repeating? What emotional tone runs beneath my days, even when everything seems fine? If my life were a mirror, what frequency would it be showing me? No judgment, just awareness. Write your insights down. 1 page only. What you write is not for your mind, it's for your field. It is the beginning of vibrational remembrance. And in that remembrance, the first code unlocks. Lesson 2. The symbol isn't a shape, it's a cycle. There's a secret that never made it into your books. A truth so ancient, so elegantly hidden, that it was mistaken for myth, or worse, ignored as coincidence. Thoth, the master architect of hidden wisdom, left behind a symbol. But this symbol was never meant to be carved in stone. It was meant to move, to repeat, to echo. And that symbol is the cycle. You were trained to search for meaning in things, in objects, in words, in diagrams. But the true language of the universe is not still, it loops. It does not speak in lines. It dances in spirals. And if you've ever wondered why the same lessons return, why the same people appear in different forms, why life feels like it keeps pulling you into familiar storms, this is why. The universe does not punish, it mirrors, and what it mirrors is your vibrational cycle. Every unresolved moment in your field leaves a trace, a signal, and unless that signal is transmuted, not ignored, not fought, not denied, it returns. But not because you did something wrong, because it is sacred. Because repetition is the soul's way of knocking, again and again, until you finally open the door. Think of the heartbreak that keeps finding you in new names, the scarcity that reappears in new currencies, the abandonment that shows up in new relationships, new cities, new jobs. These are not accidents. These are your teachers. You call them patterns. Thoth called them sacred signatures. They are not here to trap you. They are here to awaken you. The cycle is the symbol. The loop is the lesson. And until you see the cycle, the symbol cannot dissolve. We've been conditioned to see repetition as failure. I thought I healed that, you tell yourself. But healing is not a checkbox. It is a spiral staircase. You revisit the same themes, not because you're back where you started, but because you're being invited to meet them from a higher frequency. You are not stuck. You are orbiting. And every orbit brings you closer to the core. But the core cannot be reached with analysis. It can only be reached with presence. You must become the still point inside the loop, the one who sees without judgment, the one who listens to the echo instead of running from it. This is the symbol you were never taught to read. Not the eye, not the triangle, not the egg, but the pattern in your own life. The moment that keeps repeating, that's the real glyph. That's the coded message. And every time it returns, it speaks with more urgency, more precision, not louder, but deeper. Can you hear it now? The argument that never ends. The emotion that always lingers. The outcome that somehow slips just out of reach every single time. These are not signs of weakness. They are sacred loops. They are your field replaying what hasn't been integrated. Not because you are cursed, but because you are loved. The field does not abandon you. It is relentless only because it remembers what you're here to embody. And it will bring you the same vibration in different costumes, until you finally feel it, face it, and free it. The moment you stop reacting to the repetition and start witnessing it is the moment you break the illusion of punishment. Now, you begin to see repetition is not the trap. Resistance to the repetition is, because what repeats is not here to destroy you. It is here to initiate you. Every pattern is a key disguised as a loop. But it only unlocks when you stop fighting it. Imagine for a moment. What if the part of you that feels stuck is the most sacred part of all, because it is holding the code to your next transformation? What if instead of pushing it away, you entered it, sat with it, breathed with it? That fear of loss is the portal to presence. That frustration is the invitation to flow. That longing is the doorway to your real desire. The external world is not random. It is a feedback system. And it is faithful. It keeps returning, cycling, showing, reminding, until the message lands in the field. Thoth did not give us diagrams to memorize. He gave us life to decode. And the most powerful teachings are not found in stone. They are found in repetition. The cycle is not a curse. It is a sacred echo. And the moment you stop trying to escape it and start listening to it, you reclaim your power. You begin to realize, I'm not here to break the pattern. I'm here to understand what it's telling me. And that changes everything. Because once a pattern is seen fully, without resistance, without story, it begins to dissolve, not through force, but through frequency. Your attention is what liberates the cycle. Your presence is what untangles the code. This is why nothing changes until you change your way of seeing. And once you shift your vision from resistance to recognition, the symbol dissolves, the cycle completes. The energy is free to move, and something miraculous begins to happen. Life stops repeating and starts revealing. You don't need more effort. You don't need more books. You need to feel what's been waiting to be felt, because the secret wasn't hidden in some ancient tomb. It was spinning in front of you, in the rhythm of your life, every single day. And now, you can finally see it. Practical exercise. The sacred repetition journal. Find a quiet space. Light a candle or take 3 deep grounding breaths. Ask yourself, what is one pattern that keeps repeating in my life? What emotion always follows it? What have I been resisting in it? Write down everything that comes, without editing. Let the cycle speak. Let the repetition become your revelation. Then ask softly, what is this trying to reveal about my vibration? What have I not yet fully witnessed? This journal is not a solution. It is an opening, and through that opening, the cycle begins to transform. Because the moment you name the pattern, you hold the symbol. And once held in presence, it no longer needs to repeat. Lesson 3. The silent saboteur, distorted identity. There's a voice inside you that has spoken for so long, you forgot it was never yours. A whisper that shapes your choices, edits your worth, and filters every dream before it can fully form. This voice is not loud. It does not scream. It mutters quietly beneath the surface of your thoughts. And yet, it governs your entire frequency. This is the silent saboteur. And it lives inside your identity. You've been told to think positive, to visualize success, to affirm your value. But here's the hidden truth. No amount of effort can override an identity that vibrates with fear. Your vibrational field does not respond to your desires. It responds to your definitions. If you believe, even unconsciously, that you are not enough, the field aligns with that signal. And the universe obeys. It is not your goals that shape your life. It is the image you hold of yourself when no one else is looking. That invisible sculpture you carry, the you built by pain, by memory, by survival. And survival, though noble, is not truth. It is a mask. A beautifully complex adaptation, built in response to wounds that were never healed, only hidden. You may say, I am strong. But if your field still vibrates with, I am unsafe, then the energy speaks louder than the words. You may say, I am abundant. But if your field still echoes, I don't deserve it, then no affirmation will change the architecture of your life. You are not what you speak. You are what you vibrate. And your vibration is not created in the mind. It is sustained by your identity. This is why Thoth warned, the most dangerous distortion is not in what you want, but in who you think you are. Because you were never taught to question the roots of your identity. You were only taught to improve it, to fix it, to decorate it, but not to unravel it. And here is what few dare to see. Much of what you call you isn't you at all. It is a collection of memories. Echoes of caretakers who didn't know how to love. Teachers who named you with their limits. Moments of shame that hardened into beliefs. You carry them not because you chose them, but because they were repeated again and again until they felt normal. But normal is not truth. Familiar is not alignment. And comfort is not coherence. You are not broken. You are simply misidentified. You are still vibrating with definitions built by someone else's pain. And that vibration is shaping every interaction, every outcome, every attempt to rise. Because your field is not just a signal. It is a mirror of who you believe yourself to be. And what you believe, you emit. What you emit, you attract. What you attract becomes your reality. This is the silent saboteur, a distorted self-image, echoing so constantly that you think it's just your voice. But it isn't. It's the shadow of a moment you never healed from. A conclusion you drew about yourself when your heart was still open and your defense was not yet born. A child rejected learns to become small. A soul abandoned learns to chase worth. A heart silenced learns to suppress truth. And then those postures become identities. I'm too much. I'm not ready. I don't deserve it. No one sees me. It always ends the same. These aren't thoughts. They're frequencies. These aren't flaws. They're survival codes. But you are no longer in the danger you were in when those codes were written. You are here. You are awake. You are remembering. And that means you can rewrite, but not with logic, with vibration, with presence, with truth. You must begin not by adding to who you are, but by subtracting who you never were. Strip away every I am statement that was born in a moment of fear. Peel back every belief you inherited from someone who has lost themselves. Look at the mirror of your life, not as a punishment, but as a message. What you live is what you believe you are. If love is missing, check what you feel worthy of. If success is distant, check what you believe you're allowed to receive. If you feel unseen, check whether you've been hiding beneath a costume of safety, because the universe doesn't respond to the mask. It responds to the signal underneath. And if your identity is distorted, your signal is jammed. This is why healing doesn't come from striving. It comes from remembering. Because the truth is, you were whole before the distortion. You were radiant before the role. You were sovereign before the survival kicked in. And that version of you is still here. It has never left. It's just been covered, layered under years of adaptation. Thoth did not ask you to become something new. He asked you to remember what was always there. To burn the costume, not because it's bad, but because it's no longer needed. The moment you shed the false identity, the field breathes differently. The energy reorganizes. And the mirror, the external world, begins to shift. This is not a metaphor. It is frequency science. Because coherence cannot flow through contradiction. You cannot affirm light while vibrating as a shadow. The power of your life is not in your thoughts. It is in your self-definition. And the time has come to release the definitions that were given to you, so you can finally emit the signal of your true name. Not the name your parents gave you. Not the name your pain called you. But the vibrational name written in your essence before time. The silent saboteur is not evil. It is outdated. It is your younger self still trying to stay safe. And it needs not your shame, but your presence. Your witnessing. Your release. You are not what happened to you. You are the one who came to transmute it. And when you begin to emit the truth of who you are, not from your lips, but from your field, reality will shift in reverence. Because identity is not just self-image. It is the blueprint of energy. It is the vibration that reality mirrors without error. And now it's time to change the code, rewriting the I am spell. Sit in silence. No music, no distraction. Breathe into your heart, slow and deep. For 2 full minutes. Take a blank page and at the top write, who have I been pretending to be in order to survive? Let the answers come, even if they hurt. Now write this second prompt beneath it. Who was I before I forgot? Listen, write slowly. Let your essence speak. Then, choose 3 I am statements that feel like truth, not fantasy, not hope, truth. Write them. Speak them. Close your eyes and feel them radiate. This is not an affirmation. It is a return dot, and every time you speak those words, not to your mind, but from your field, you reclaim your name. Lesson 4. Coherence. The alignment that creates. There's a moment when manifestation no longer feels like striving. It becomes breath. It becomes silence. It becomes truth vibrating so clearly through your entire being that the universe has no choice but to respond instantly and without resistance. That moment is not reached through force, not through effort, not through endless practice. It is reached through coherence. Coherence is not something you do. It is what you become when your thoughts, emotions, body, and energy field speak the same language. Imagine a choir where each voice sings a different tune. No matter how gifted the singers, the song will not harmonize. Now imagine your thoughts saying, "I am ready," your emotions whispering, "I am afraid," your body holding the tension of past pain, and your field vibrating with abandonment. This is the dissonance that sabotages most manifestation. You affirm with your lips, but you vibrate with your history. You visualize success, but your heart still echoes old fears. And the field, loyal to your dominant frequency, reflects confusion, not because you are wrong, but because you are out of tune. Coherence is when nothing inside you disagrees. It is the sacred silence of total agreement between mind, body, and soul. It is not loud. It does not demand. It doesn't even try. It simply is, and in that being, it bends reality. This is the secret that Thoth guarded in silence. Not that energy responds to belief, but that energy flows where there is no resistance. And resistance lives in fragmentation. When one part of you moves forward and another pulls back, you split your power. The universe feels your contradiction and waits, not as punishment, but because manifestation requires a signal that is whole. Coherence is wholeness in motion. In the ancient temples, initiates were not taught how to ask the universe for things. They were taught to enter vibrational harmony, to become the frequency of the reality they sought. Once they held the tone in their field, reality organized itself around them like iron filings around a magnet. This is why some people seem to attract effortlessly. They do not chase, they align. Their signal is clean. And the field, always listening, responds without hesitation. But coherence cannot be faked. You cannot pretend your way into it. You must feel your way into it. You must soften where you are clenched. You must breathe where you hold control. You must surrender where your ego still fights. And this is the paradox. You do not create coherence by fixing what is broken. You create coherence by letting go of what is divided. Coherence is what arises when you are not trying to be anything, just being everything you are. Without contradiction. It is presence without pressure, stillness without suppression, action without fear, emotion without resistance. And when this state is reached, even for a moment, you become a clear signal in the cosmos. Your body no longer delays the frequency. Your mind no longer interferes. Your emotions no longer distort. And your field sings. It sings the pure song of your essence. And the universe, always attuned to authenticity, begins to move, not in response to your demand, but in resonance with your truth. Understand this deeply. The universe does not respond to what you want. It responds to what you harmonize with. You can light candles, perform rituals, repeat affirmations, but if you are fragmented within, the energy remains static. It cannot flow through distortion. It cannot land in contradiction. But when you align, fully, gently, honestly, the manifestation becomes effortless. It is not summoned. It is remembered. It arrives because your field has become a match. Coherence does not require perfection. It requires agreement. It is not about suppressing fear, but integrating it. Not about eliminating doubt, but embracing it as part of your unfolding. You don't need to fight yourself into harmony. You need to listen yourself into stillness, because underneath every effort is a field waiting to be quiet enough to align. And once it does, you will feel it. There will be no struggle, no questioning. Just a deep, sacred knowing that reality is already on its way. Coherence is not the reward. It is the doorway. And you walk through it not by doing more, but by doing less with more presence. So the question now becomes not, how do I manifest? But where am I out of tune with what I claim to desire? Let your body answer. Let your breath answer. Let your emotions show you what they are really aligned with. Because your nervous system never lies. Your energy field never lies. Your life never lies. And when all parts of you begin to speak the same truth, the universe listens. Because the universe is a tuning fork. It echoes what you hold, not occasionally, not inconsistently, but precisely and faithfully. When you vibrate with coherence, life cannot resist your frequency. It becomes your reflection. 3 minutes of vibrational stillness. This is not a meditation. It is a return to your natural harmony. Sit comfortably. Spine upright, but not rigid. Close your eyes. Place one hand over your heart, the other over your stomach. Take a slow, deep inhale through the nose. Hold gently. And exhale softly through the mouth. Now, release the need to do. Release the urge to become. For 3 minutes, simply feel yourself being. No intention. No expectation. No fixing. Feel your breath. Feel your weight. Feel your energy softening. And repeat softly inside, like a silent current. I allow everything in me to harmonize. Let the silence do the work. Let the vibration realign. Let coherence arise, not from your mind, but from your field. This stillness is not emptiness. It is sacred tuning. And once your energy aligns, manifestation no longer requires force. Because the field is now in agreement. And what is agreed upon becomes reality. Lesson 5. The eye that listens. There's a sense within you older than eyesight, older than language, older even than breath. It came with you from places memory cannot reach. It is the eye that does not open outward, but inward. An eye that does not stare, but listens. Tonight, that silent aperture turns toward you, ready to receive what words can only circle. Close your ordinary eyes for a moment and feel the darkness behind the lids. Notice how other senses awaken. Faint hum of electricity, pulse in your wrists. Distant rhythm of your own heart. Now notice something subtler, still a presence pressing gently from behind your sternum, as if a hidden lantern were waiting to be unveiled. That glimmer is what Thoth called the eye that listens. Why listens? Because this eye does not operate through sight's division of observer and observed. It perceives by resonance. To it, truth is not an object to be analyzed. Truth is a tone, a timbre, a vibration. The moment the tone is struck, the eye recognizes it the way a tuning fork recognizes its note. No cognition required. No debate. Only primordial knowing. You have felt it before, those sudden moments when you meet someone and instantly trust them, or distrust them, long before words exchange. You call it intuition, gut feeling, instinct. But intuition is just the surface, rippling above a far deeper current. The listening eye is the current itself. It swims in frequencies long before they consolidate into events. Yet most of the time this inner organ is muffled by the roar of self-judgment. The mind chatters verdicts. Is this right? Is this safe? Do I deserve this? The emotions echo. Fear, excitement, doubt, hope, all tumbling over one another like pebbles in surf. The body holds postures learned from years of bracing. Together, they create a static so loud the subtle note of truth is lost. Coherence, as you learned, is harmony among these layers. But coherence requires a conductor, and the eye that listens is that conductor. When it awakens, thought slows to its tempo, breath unknots, muscles unclench. The field tunes itself to the keynote of being, and creation follows effortlessly. Do not imagine this I as mystical fantasy. It is a neurological and electromagnetic reality. Heart center neurons synchronizing with brainwave patterns, microcurrents aligning with Earth's resonance. Science merely glimpses what antiquity already mastered. The temple priests of Chem stood in stillness for hours, not to worship an idol, but to let this inner sensor calibrate the geometry of their fields before they carved a single glyph. The eye opens only in humility. Not the humility of shrinking, but the humility of silencing the inner commentator. You cannot coerce it with mantras. You cannot pry it wide with spectacle. It flowers the instant you stop needing to know and begin allowing to feel. Imagine sitting beside a vast lake at dawn. Mist curls above glassy water. Birds stir but do not yet sing. In that hush you sense the whole landscape breathing. There is no question to answer, no goal to pursue, only the undeniable fact of existence meeting itself. In such a moment, the listening eye is fully open. Your awareness and the scene are identical vibrations dancing within a single field. Now bring that same presence into daily life. Standing in a checkout line, hear the silent stories swirling around you in patience, boredom, kindness. Instead of judging, let the inner eye fingerprint each frequency. It will register what is authentic and what is masked without your conscious effort. That recognition alone reorganizes your reality, because the field now receives pure data instead of distorted narrative. Thoth warned that a half-open listening eye is more dangerous than a closed one. When you perceive truth but filter it through ego's preference, you weaponize partial insight. You manipulate it instead of harmonize. That path breeds sorcery, not sovereignty. Therefore, your task is full opening, which requires radical stillness. No desire to control, no urge to flee, only witnessing. Ask yourself right now, what in me already knows? Hold the question the way you would hold a sleeping child, gently, without shaking. Do not reach for an answer. Answers are vibrations. Let them arrive on their own wavelength. You may feel warmth in the chest, tingling along the scalp, sudden tears, or vast silence. Whatever arises is the eye turning toward its own reflection. As this sense strengthens, decision-making transforms. You no longer weigh pros and cons like stones on a scale. You feel the tone of each option and choose the one that sings in tune. Relationships evolve. You recognize resonance and dissonance before stories complicate them. Even time shifts. Synchronicities stack like beads on a thread, because the universe delights in matching your clarified signal. Remember, sight separates, listening unites. The outer eyes show myriad forms. The inner ear hears the one vibration underneath all forms. That is why prophets spoke in parables of ears that hear, though eyes see not. They were pointing to this faculty you are now reclaiming. When the listening eye awakens, an elegant simplicity returns to your life. Decisions arrive already answered, because you feel the yes or no as bodily vibration. You no longer negotiate. With doubt, you translate sensation into direction. This is not magic, it is bioelectromagnetic literacy. By attuning to it, you shorten the lag between impulse and insight. Notice the consequence. Fatigue lessens. Endless mental loops fade. You spend less energy rehearsing futures and more energy inhabiting the present, where futures are actually formed. Friends may comment on your calm, your timing, your uncanny ability to be in the right place. Resist the temptation to claim specialness. The listening eye is not a trophy, it is original equipment. Everyone possesses it. You simply remove the static. Static will attempt to return through media noise, other people's urgency, your own inherited fears. When you sense the signal clouding, pause and breathe until the inner ear clicks back into focus. This micro-discipline keeps the portal clean, the way monks sweep temple floors each dawn. Over time, an even deeper shift unfolds. Reality begins to speak in symbols, tailored only for you, an animal crossing your path, a phrase overheard, a dream before waking. The universe has always spoken in such glyphs. The listening eye finally provides the translation key. Practical teaching. Awakening the listening eye. Reserve a quiet 10-minute window. Sit upright, palms over the heart. Breath tuning. Inhale. For 4 counts, hold 4, exhale 6. Silently repeat, I hear. Complete 7 cycles, wordless inquiry. Drop the question into the chest. What in me already knows? Let sensations answer. Sound merge. Notice the faintest external noise and feel it echoed inside. Dissolving the border between you and world. Radiant ember. Picture a small light in the heart, pulsing outward with each breath until body and space thrum as one. Seal. Bow the head and affirm, I trust the listening. Open your eyes, carrying inner silence forward. Practice daily for 1 week. Record subtle cues, intuitive nudges, effortless timing, calm certainty. These are proofs the inner ear is stabilizing. The listening journal each night. Write the day's strongest intuitive moment and how you responded. Acting on even the smallest guidance trains the universe to speak in clearer tones. End the entry with the phrase, I honor the eye that listens. Feel gratitude rise, then extinguish the light, resting in living silence. Keep noticing the quiet miracles. Every recognition polishes the lens through which creation recognizes itself within you daily. Lesson 6. Active silence. The forgotten gesture. There is a doorway that cannot be opened with noise, not with chanting, not with prayer, not even with the mind's most elegant intentions. It opens only with stillness, but not the stillness of passivity, the stillness of surrender. The ancients called it active silence. This is not the absence of sound. This is the presence of listening. It is the forgotten gesture, not taught, not spoken, not shown, only remembered. A sacred stance of inner alignment where no energy is wasted, no force is projected. And yet, in this apparent nothingness, everything reorganizes. You have been told that silence is passive, that to be still is to do nothing. But true silence is not emptiness. It is intensity without distortion. It is a current of power that moves without noise. It is the signal behind all creation, waiting for the interference to stop. And when it does, when you finally stop doing, fixing, chasing, praying for change, you enter the field where transformation already is. In the ancient temples of Chem, initiates were not taught spells. They were taught presence, not to control reality, but to become so vibrationally coherent with the divine field that reality conformed to them. They sat in silence, spine straight, breath open, chest exposed to the mystery, not because they had something to say, but because they had finally learned how to listen. Active silence is not void. It is voltage. It is a direct line to the intelligence that moves planets, opens flowers, and breathes you without your permission. You've heard that energy follows attention. But what you haven't heard is this. In silence, attention returns home. And when attention is not scattered, it becomes power, not the power to manipulate, the power to magnetize, to attract not from effort, but from essence. When your field is in active silence, the universe hears your original signal, before trauma, before identity, and that signal is pure. That signal is the code Thoth protected through symbols, temples, and teachings. Not a word, not a name. A tone. And that tone cannot be spoken. It can only be emitted through alignment, through stillness that vibrates, not vibrancy that speaks. This is why your affirmations often fail. Because behind the words, the field is noisy, desperate, fragmented. But in active silence, the field rests. And in that rest, the tone reemerges. Like a bell heard after a storm has passed. And here's the paradox. You don't need to find it. You only need to stop obscuring it, because it's already there. You've just been standing in front of it with all your trying, your proving, your improving. Active silence asks you to stop standing in your own light, to kneel, to breathe, to feel. And then to become still enough for your real self to appear. This is not meditation as discipline. It is not breathwork as ritual. It is not prayer as request. It is reverent surrender. You surrender not because you are weak, but because power no longer needs to prove itself. When you enter this gesture, grounded feet, straight spine, open chest, surrendered breath, you take the same posture as the pyramid, silent, anchored, radiant. What happens inside is beyond explanation. The field begins to purify itself. Tensions release without processing. Trauma exits without analysis. You do not let go. Letting go happens to you. This is not healing. It is remembering. It is the act of returning to a frequency that was always yours. Before the distortions arrive. In this gesture, the ego bows. The mind listens. The breath softens. And in that sacred stillness, you become a tuning fork to the divine. Creation listens not to your thoughts, but to your tone. And when the tone is clean, life organizes itself around it like stars in orbit. That is the hidden power of active silence. Not that you gain control, but that you become the resonance of order. And in a world obsessed with volume, effort, and strategy, this silence is the most radical act of power. It cannot be faked. It cannot be rushed. But once entered, everything begins to move. Not because you did something, because you finally allowed something to move through you. And here's the proof. The more you practice this gesture, the less exhausted you become. Because power flows through you instead of from you. You stop burning energy on performance. You stop wasting emotion on outcomes. You simply sit, and the world responds, because you are no longer broadcasting noise. You are humming truth. And truth bends matter. Thoth left this teaching not as doctrine, but as posture, and you are ready now to enter it. The gesture of active silence. This is not a guided meditation. This is a remembrance. Find a quiet space where you will not be disturbed. Sit on the floor or chair with feet flat. Grounded. Align your posture. Spine straight, but not tense. Chest open, heart lifted, not forward, but upward. Shoulders soft. Head slightly bowed, as if listening to something deep within. Close your eyes. Breathe gently. Now, begin the practice. Not by doing anything, but by stopping everything. No thoughts to manage, no breath to control, no energy to move. Just be. Be the silence. Be the stillness. Be the breath you are not controlling. Be the space that holds all movement without making any. For 3 minutes, allow yourself to do absolutely nothing. You are not here to become enlightened. You are not here to reach a state. You are simply here, fully, quietly, truthfully. If thoughts arise, let them pass. If emotion arises, let it hum without story. Just remain, anchored, listening, radiating. When the 3 minutes pass, gently place your hand on your heart and whisper, I allow the silence to speak through me. This is not an end, it is a seed. Return to this gesture daily. Let it rearrange your field without you needing to understand how. Because the moment you practice the forgotten gesture, the ancient field remembers you, and what once felt far away begins to return on its own. Lesson 7. Original vibration. You were never broken. You were never broken. You were only covered. Layer upon layer, belief upon belief, until the signal of who you truly are became dim beneath the noise, but the vibration remains. Beneath the wounds, beneath the masks, beneath the seeking, it hums. Your original vibration. It is not something you earn. It is not something you become. It is something you remember, something you return to, Something you stop resisting long enough to feel. Everything else has been a costume, a survival strategy, a beautiful adaptation built to protect what was once sacred in you, your light. But you are no longer living in that moment of danger. You are here now, and the field around you is finally stable enough to let the signal return. From the moment you were born, you carried a frequency so precise, so pure, that it harmonized with reality like a song sung by the stars. It was not shaped by experience. It shaped experience. But then, life happened. You learned that to be loved, you had to shrink. To be safe, you had to hide. To be accepted, you had to disconnect. And so, the signal was dressed in distortion. Not out of weakness, but out of necessity. And that is not your fault. But it is now your choice. The choice to stop asking, how do I fix this? Because there is nothing broken. Only forgotten. Only misaligned. Only a vibration waiting for space to sing again. The universe doesn't respond to your effort. It responds to your tone. And your tone, your field, is not built by what you do. It's built by what you hold. So ask yourself, what am I holding? What emotion lives beneath my calm voice? What story lives beneath my daily affirmations? What frequency lives beneath my thoughts? That is what creates your life, not your goals, not your intentions, but your vibrational signature, the constant signal beneath the surface. And here's the divine paradox. That signature is not missing. It's simply layered. Beneath the echo of "I'm not enough" is the tone of sufficiency. Beneath "I have to earn love" is the pulse of worthiness. Beneath every limitation is your original light, untouched. Like a radio station that never stopped broadcasting. You just forgot the dial. And now you're being asked to retune. This is not work. This is release. You don't need to fix anything. You need to stop feeding the illusion that you are broken. Because every time you search for a solution, you reinforce the belief that something's wrong. And that belief becomes your frequency. And that frequency becomes your life. Thoth never taught the path of accumulation. He taught unveiling, peeling back the noise to reveal the code that was always whole. You are not here to build yourself. You are here to remember yourself. And what you remember reorganizes the field. That's why some changes seem to happen overnight. Not because a miracle descended, but because the distortion was removed, and the vibration was free to express again. Your healing is not a project. It is a recognition that you are not your story. You are the signal beneath the story. Not the pain, but the pulse behind the pain. Not the wound, but the light the wound tried to protect. And when you begin to live from that vibration, that original tone, life stops resisting you. Because you are no longer resisting yourself. This is not about becoming more. It's about becoming less artificial, less distorted, less performative, less filtered. And in that sacred less, you find everything. You don't manifest from desire. You manifest from congruence. And nothing is more congruent than your original vibration. It doesn't need to be impressive. It doesn't need to be spiritual. It just needs to be true. Because reality doesn't mirror what is impressive. It mirrors what is consistent. So instead of asking, how do I become better? Ask, what am I constantly vibrating? Not just when I meditate, but when I'm tired, when I'm honest, when I stop performing. That's the code. Because it's easy to hold light in ceremony. But the real field is built in your quiet moments, when no one is watching. The way you breathe through discomfort. The way you speak to yourself in solitude. The frequency you default to when you forget to try. That's what the universe responds to. That's what creation obeys. And here's the gift. You don't need to perfect that frequency. You only need to choose it again. Choose the vibration that feels like home. The one that feels soft in your body. The one that doesn't tighten your chest. The one that doesn't ask you to prove anything. That's the tone. That's the original hum. And that hum is your power. Everything else is just static. Let the static go. Tuning back to your original vibration. This is not a meditation. This is a remembrance ritual. Sit quietly in a dim room. Light a candle if you wish, not to summon something, but to honor what's returning. Place your hands over your heart. One hand for the self you've become. One hand for the self you forgot. Breathe deeply, slowly. Inhale, I am. Exhale, already enough. Repeat this for 2 minutes. Now, ask the question, what would it feel like if I didn't need to fix anything? Let the body answer. Let the silence speak. When you're ready, say aloud, I remember what I was. Before the noise. Let that phrase vibrate in your chest, not as hope, but as knowing. Return to this practice anytime you feel the old static returning. Not to push it away, but to remind it, you are not broken. You are vibrating through the dust. Lesson 8, The Forbidden Secret, Embodying the Code. There's a truth so ancient, so precise that it was hidden in plain sight, veiled behind symbols, buried beneath metaphor, scattered through forgotten scrolls and whispered only in mystery. Schools. It is not a technique. It is not a mantra. It is not something you do. It is what you become. This is the forbidden secret of Thoth, the final code. You do not manifest through desire. You manifest through sustained alignment. Desire is a spark. Alignment is the flame. Desire is asking. Alignment is remembering. Desire reaches. Alignment radiates. And the universe does not respond to what you reach for. It responds to what you radiate. You've been taught to visualize what you want, to repeat affirmations, to set intentions. And yet, deep down, you felt the emptiness of those efforts. Because the field doesn't move for effort. It moves for coherence. What you hold consistently in your vibration is what becomes reality. Not what you wish for, not what you try to force, but what you emit, over and over again, without even thinking. This is the terrifying freedom of the code. It cannot be faked. It cannot be bypassed. It reveals you, not in what you say, but in what you are. This is why manifestation often feels broken. You ask, you plead, you believe, but beneath it all, the vibration remains fragmented. Your lips say, I am ready, but your field hums, I am still waiting. The universe doesn't follow your language. It follows your tone, and the tone is not what you perform. It is what you sustain. This is the hidden current beneath all Hermetic teaching. Vibration governs form. As above, so below, yes, but also, as within, so without. As sustained, so created. The field is a mirror, and it is loyal. It doesn't reflect your highest wish. It reflects your dominant frequency. Even when you're not aware of it. So the question is not, what do I want? The question is, what am I continuously vibrating, even when I'm not trying? Thoth didn't leave behind steps. He left states. He left frequencies. And those frequencies, when embodied, do not beg reality to shift. They command it without a single word, because coherence doesn't ask. It aligns. And alignment doesn't chase outcomes. It collapses them into the now. When your vibration is coherent, reality cannot disobey. It doesn't matter what the odds are. It doesn't matter what others believe. It doesn't even matter what your mind says. If your field sustains the frequency of already being, already having, already knowing, the outer world begins to organize around that signal, because the universe is not a mind, it is a listener. And it listens not to thought, but to frequency. This is the sacred fire, the one that cannot be lit from the outside. It only ignites from inner remembrance, from vibrational truth. That is why you can't hack your way into this. You can't paste affirmations over a field full of abandonment. You can't light candles while your nervous system is frozen in fear. You can't force yourself to feel what you haven't yet integrated. You must become the frequency first. Before the result. Before the shift. Before the breakthrough. You must become it and hold it, even when nothing has changed yet. That's the test. That's the initiation. Because your field doesn't wait for external confirmation. It creates the confirmation. And once that signal is stable, reality follows. Not because you tricked it, but because you finally spoke its language. You may ask, but how do I hold a frequency if I don't feel it yet? The answer is this: you don't force it, you tune to it. You become quiet enough, honest enough, still enough to find the hum beneath your trauma, beneath your fear, beneath the noise. And when you hear it, even for a moment, you anchor it. Not with willpower, but with trust. You choose it like you would choose a favorite melody, not because it solves something, but because it feels like home. You don't need to fake joy. You need to release what isn't your real signal. You don't need to pretend abundance. You need to let go of the parts of you still addicted to lack, because the frequency is already there. You've just been broadcasting over it with static. The forbidden secret is not that you create reality. It's that you already are, always, constantly, whether you mean to or not. And the only question that ever matters is, what am I creating by default? If your life feels stuck, chaotic, empty, it's not your desire that's wrong. It's the vibration you've been unconsciously upholding. And once you see it, you can shift it. Not through effort, through consistency, through sovereignty. Affirmations are not bad, they're just shallow without resonance. So stop saying, I want, and start vibrating, I am. Because want is distance. It says, not yet. It says, maybe one day. It carries the energy of separation. But I am, when felt, when sustained, collapses time. It brings the outcome to you, not because you asked, but because you became the version of you who already has. That version is not a fantasy. It is a frequency. And that frequency can be lived. Now. So walk like you already hold it. Breathe like it's already yours. Rest like nothing is missing. Act not from desperation, but from inner wholeness, because that's what changes the field. That's what rewrites the mirror. That's what unlocks the code. The code is not a secret. The code is not protected. The code is not for the chosen few. The code is you, when you stop trying and start remembering. And once you remember, the field cannot help but respond. Embodying resonance, sit in a quiet space. Let your body rest naturally, no effort, no posture. Close your eyes and breathe slowly. Inhale, I release effort. Exhale, I return to alignment. Now bring to mind something you desire, not as a wish, but as a vibration. Feel what it would be like if it were already here. Don't visualize the outcome. Feel the version of you who no longer needs to ask. Sit in that feeling for 3 minutes. Let it move through your chest, your spine, your breath. Anchor it, let it settle, whisper softly. This is the frequency I hold. Not for a moment, but as my default. Repeat daily. Not to force reality to change, but to become the tone that life must echo. And remember, desire fades, words fade, but frequency remains. And when yours is aligned. Conclusion. You don't create, you remember you've reached the end of something. But it's not the end of learning. It's the end of forgetting. The truth is, you were never meant to become. You were meant to remember. Not to build an identity, but to remove everything that is not you. Not to strive toward divinity, but to stand still long enough for the divine to speak through you. The secret of Thoth was never a method, it was a mirror. A sacred reflection revealing not how to manifest, but how to return to what you were before the world asked you to forget. And now, as the echoes of these words begin to fade, something ancient stirs within you. Not new knowledge, but old memory, a frequency, a flame, a tone beneath the noise. That says, this is who I've always been. You are not the mind that doubts, You are not the wounds you survived. You are not the roles you perform. You are the field. You are the signal. You are the original hum, still vibrating beneath the dust. And that signal is not asking the universe for permission. It is declaring what already is. You don't need to try harder. You don't need to chase alignment. You don't need to. Speak louder for life to hear you. The moment you drop the mask, the moment you stop reaching, the moment you simply hold the truth in your chest like a sacred fire, the field listens. And when the field listens, reality obeys. This is not magic. This is law. You don't create from thought. You create from vibration. And vibration is not born from what you say. It's born from what you remember. So sit. Now not in effort, but in presence. And breathe. Breathe into the place where your truth still waits. Breathe into the crack between forgetting and remembering. And softly write this phrase. I remember who I was before I forgot. Let that sentence anchor something deeper than belief. Let it be a doorway. Let it be a promise. Let it be your signal to the field that you're no longer living as a copy, but as a source, because the world doesn't need more effort. It needs more remembrance. And you didn't find this video by chance. You were called to this frequency, because your field is ready to awaken. Now rise, not with noise, but with resonance. Let your life be the vibration that others remember themselves through, because the code was never lost. It was always in you, waiting to be remembered.